All right, welcome back to another episode of Unbecoming with Dr. Eboni L. Truss, the podcast. And today I am pleased to have as a guest interviewer Miss Sandra Oliver. And oh my goodness, it seems like Sandy and I go way, way back. She first encountered the Unbecoming message through one of the trainings that I've done over the last few years. And she says, allowed her to understand a deeper and more fulfilling connection with God in all areas of her life. Now, Sandra is the owner and creator of Through His Lens LLC and Ordinary World Photography. She works as a licensed clinical social worker, providing mental health counseling, and her passion is photography and seeing the world through God's lens, capturing his creations. And we actually get into some of that during her episode today as she interviews me about becoming who God's called you to be, which is actually kind of a misnomer, but we'll get into it. Here is today's episode. Woohoo! Welcome to another episode of Unbecoming with Dr. Eboni L. Truss, the podcast. Yes. And so thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you so much for listening in every single time, for coming back for more. So you already heard from the intro that today I have Sandra, or Sandy if you sexy. Sandra Oliver here with me today. And listen, I promise you, it is going to be a good time. One thing that I absolutely love about Sandy is that she is going to be herself. And when I tell you a party package, listen, she is a G. And she that's it. She is a G. She is a party bag, a party package. Like it's so much fun. All jokes aside, it's so much fun when Sandy is in the room. I promise you. So listen, get ready, because I'm about to bring her to the stage. And if you're not ready, you better get ready. I'm just saying. So welcome, Sandy, to Unbecoming with Dr. Eboni L. Truss, the podcast. Yay! Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Yay! Woohoo!
I was like laughing with you.
Yes. I'm telling you, like this is about to be so much fun, and just, like good, like down to earth. I love when I can just hang out with just good down to earth folks. You know what I mean? Like no pretense, no, just
100% real.
yes, and just have a good time. So you got the mic, Sandy. Go for it.
All right. Well, like I said, thanks for inviting me. I love to have fun with you.
Yes.
I guess having dealt with you for a while and done some of your courses with you and podcast listening, a question that always comes to my mind, especially as a mental health therapist.
Yes.
Okay. Is everyone capable of unbecoming? If so, what advice would you give to someone who's struggling with believing they can truly become the person God created them to be?
Okay, I love this question. Because it allows me to kind of unravel a misconception that I run into often as I'm sharing the Unbecoming message. And like people are clear that, okay, I need to as a part of this lifestyle of, because okay, start from the beginning. Unbecoming is not a one and done type thing. Like, okay, I'm going to get to the place where I'll be able to say, oh, I've unbecome. That's not even a thing. Unbecoming is a lifestyle of process. And the rabbit hole goes deep. It goes very, very deep, right? As far as uncovering, unlocking, rediscovering who God called you to be. And so people are generally just kind of clear on, okay, yes, so I need to unbecome in this area, like in my health, or unbecome in business, or unbecome in my marriage, or whatever the case may be, unbecome in my workplace, because that's the whole thing, right? All these various like folks get that. But on the other side of that, I hear often that same question. So how do I become who God's called me to be? Well,
Do tell.
right. The answer to that is there is no becoming who God called you to be. There's no such thing. There is literally no such thing. Why? Because who you be is who you always be. And I already know all of my English majors, that kind of conversation, like that phraseology, makes your back itch. Okay, I get it, right?
Be all you can be.
Right. Here's the thing. Exactly. Here's the thing. So the who God called us to be is who he called us to be. So when we were born, when I was born, I was a speaker. When I was born, I was an apostle. I didn't become an apostle in response to God's call. And at the point that I was ordained and confirmed, then no. I was an apostle when I was born. You were a therapist when you were born. You were a phenomenal photographer when you were born. Picking up a camera didn't make you a photographer any more than so for example, when dad comes to Abram, right? And he's like, listen, you are the father of nations. Abram, listen, my disclaimer, I quote from the ELT version of scripture, the Eboni L version. Okay, so please don't quote me. Don't quote me. You quote your AMP, your NLT, your KJV, your TPT. Do not quote the ELT. It won't work. Okay. So in the ELT version of scripture, here's how that went. Okay. Dad comes to Abram. He's like, yo, like you are the father of a whole bunch of folk. And Abram is like, where at? Because me and Sarah, we looking at each other. That's where, because I don't see that, right? And so dad takes him out, points to the stars. Your descendants will be like them. And Abram was like, okay. Goes to the sand. Each grain of sand, your descendants, Abram, will be like them, right? Abram's like, oh, okay. Now, it took decades for that to become a reality, right? However, and that when that comes to Abram, he changes his name to Abraham, meaning father of many, right? Now, did he become a father of many when his name became Abraham? No, because when dad started the conversation with him, his name was still Abram. His name was Abram. He was the father of many from the beginning, period. Right? The name did not make the man made the name. He just wasn't aware. He had to wake up to the reality. Oh, wait a minute. This is who God called me to be. And it took him several years to agree with God and not try to figure out himself. Because when he tried to figure it out for himself, him and Sarah got together. Now we got Ishmael. Now God has to heal Ishmael's heart and his family and all the things, because I got to take matters into my own hands. God called me Abraham, so let me figure this thing out. No, right? So it wasn't that he became a father of many when his name was changed to Abraham. He already was. Dad was affirming and confirming for him, this is who you be. Now let's walk this thing out together. Now his faith had to catch up. Absolutely. His faith had to catch up with that word, and it did. But it's not at all about becoming who, because that's still becoming. If I say I gotta become who God's called me to be, then that means that I'm yet not enough. I still gotta do something. I still gotta work my way. I still gotta figure out how to be who God said. No, it's not about
Well,
that now.
if I'm following you correctly,
Yes,
you're saying that I don't ever have to become who I think God created me to be, because when I was born, I was who God created me to be. And
absolutely.
unbecoming involves wiping away all the things that were lied to me about, or I falsely believed about, or were falsely taught to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so taking things into my own hands, I unbecame. No, yes, I unbecame who God created me to be, to this false perception,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
And that's essentially what happens, right? I call it a rediscovery process because, like, God does not change his mind, period, right? However, we have well-intentioned and sometimes not so well-intentioned people, in our lives, conversations that we have, places we go, ways that we choose to assimilate for whatever reason, right? And it's much like how I've heard mothers and wives, women, I'll just say women who say that when they got married, they lost themselves. They forgot what they enjoyed doing. They forgot, the hobbies they enjoyed. And then when they became mothers, all of their everything went into raising children, so then they lost themselves even more. And then once they get older, the kids are gone, or maybe if they went through a divorce and they're back at square one, it's like, I don't even know what to do because I don't even know who I am anymore. Right? It's much like that. We engage in various things, ways of doing things that we say, relationships, all kinds of things that we wind up being exposed to, that we wind up engaging with, where it chips off, pieces of who we be. And in order to fill in that gap, we get, whatever, a piece of gum sticking there, to kind of fill it in, a piece of clay or whatever, just anything that makes sense in the moment or at the time to fill in the gap. When all the while dad is like, listen, I am the gap filler. He's like,
Right,
listen,
right.
hey, I'm right here, right? Oftentimes though, the things that dad is saying doesn't make sense to our natural mind based on where we are at the time, right? Whatever space in life, it doesn't make sense. Now, it makes complete spirit in general, and it normally doesn't make sense at all. And so we discount it. Oh, that can't be God because I don't understand it.
Right.
Oh, that can't be God, because my whatever doesn't look like that. Oh, that can't be God because my bank account is saying it ain't God. Like whatever the case may be, there are the competing conversations happening. And so when you say yes, it is about unbecoming those area in those areas where we have adopted lies about
Yeah.
ourselves. You know what I
When
mean?
I'm when
Yeah.
I'm doing therapy with
Uh-huh.
somebody, oftentimes I describe it as any traumatic event that takes place in our life,
Mm-hmm.
be it small traumatic or big traumatic,
Yeah,
because what's traumatic to me is not the same as it might be to you,
exactly.
right? Leaves a soul imprint,
Mm.
right? So along our journey from the day we're born because I believe we're born knowing everything God needs us to know,
Absolutely.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have to become. Bingo.
Yes.
Gotcha. All
Yes.
right. So,
Uh-huh.
but
That's
these soul imprints cause us to make choices and decisions that lead us on a path away from Him, God,
yes.
right?
Mhm.
And along the way, we might heal those soul imprints, get back in touch with Dad, and falter away from it again if something else occurs,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So in therapy, for me, it's about healing those soul imprints and leading people back to the fact that you are created in God's image,
Yeah.
you are good enough, there's nothing wrong with you,
Yes.
right? You have to believe in yourself enough to make better choices, to make right choices, to lean into and strengthen your faith that even though all these things happened, God didn't do it.
Yes.
God allowed you to survive all of those things, right?
That's so good.
So it's it it's a process
It is. It
and it
is.
may take a while.
Yes.
But once I can explain it to people like that, just like I I don't have to become who God created me to be because I already am.
Exactly.
Woo,
That's right. I just have to remember. I just have
yes,
to remember to bring my pieces back in partnership with heaven, bring them back, right? And remember who I be,
yes.
right? Rediscover who I be, and then what I get to say and do as a result of who I be.
Who
And then
I
now, boom, we are co-missioned, co-collaborating with heaven to live out that thing. Absolutely, yes, because it absolutely is a rediscovery. I truly believe that's good, Holy Spirit. Back up. So yes, yes. Um, and like thinking about like your clients, right? And how you are so wonderfully and beautifully walking them through this opportunity, this experience of remembering, right? And knowing that, okay, God like allowed you to survive it. At the same time, God also was there with them. And I think sometimes that gets lost. Like,
oh, absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like we got to remember that this is like this whole thing is God's idea, and so He, as far as unbecoming, so He's in whatever area He was with us when the initial trauma happened. He was with us. He was there. Never was He not there, because He's good and He's a good Father, and He's walking with us into these conversations
Mhm.
around, okay, what is this like, what is this for real, what's the mask I put on as a result of this trauma,
Right.
what is the process of taking it off in order to uncover who I be. Because at the end of the day, traumas bring masks.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I've been there.
Yeah.
I've been where I have forgotten. I
Wow.
can go all the way back in my childhood to certain things, incidents where I know I didn't believe God was there.
Yeah.
And I remember being angry with God because things happened, right? And it's like, why did you give me this person? Why did
Mhm.
you let that happen? But
Yeah.
as a kid, I think that's a normal thought process,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But it taints how continue to think going into adulthood,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I forgot that God loves me no matter what. I forgot.
Yeah.
I forgot that I am a good person no matter what.
Yeah.
Even because I make mistakes. I'm human, right?
Yes.
I can't
Mm-hmm.
be perfect. That was another thing I had to overcome.
Wow.
I don't have to be perfect. I
Yeah.
thought I did, right? But forgetting that God was there led me all kind of different paths, right? But
Mm-hmm.
once I learned and started really working on my relationship with God, understanding that I could have an intimate, honest, authentic relationship with God,
Yeah,
that me sitting here like I'm talking to you, I can talk to him.
absolutely.
He already knows what's in my heart. But being able to say it to him and express it gives a whole new meaning to that relationship.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it helps me to remember, you know what? You have been there my whole life. Because if you hadn't, I know I would be dead because
Yeah.
I would have committed suicide several times. Right? But I
Mm-hmm.
didn't. I was in a car accident and I didn't die. I had a went into anaphylactic shock and I didn't die. Almost, but I didn't die. And so then after those experiences, like, okay, God, why am I here?
Mm-hmm.
Right? The big question of life. Why
Yes.
am I here? What am I doing?
Yes. Yes.
Right? And so you have to remember, and unbecoming is forgetting all of that negative thought processes that lead us to believe we're something we're not.
Yeah.
And in the mental health field, it plays a huge role in why people are depressed, why people have anxiety, why people have mental health issues. It's a cycle that never seems to end, right? But when I can get somebody connected, going through the soul imprints, right?
Yes.
And get connected and say, you know what? I am worthy.
Mm-hmm.
And you watch that change that overcomes somebody. And you watch them smile for the first time in a long time, or believe in themselves for the first time in a long time. To
Yeah.
say, you know what? I'm not trash. I'm not a doormat. I have a right. I have a voice.
Yes.
And that is one thing that most people in this world don't believe they have because they don't feel heard. And if you don't feel heard, then you start not speaking
Mm-hmm.
because why bother?
Right.
Nobody's going to listen. God's listening
Yes.
and he knows.
Yes, he does. I love that. I love
I'm
that.
sorry, I get off track.
No, no, no. There,
No.
there is no track. It's
Okay.
easy. There is no track. Listen, and if there is a track, it's like a
Like
Formula
an
One
8 track
car
out of
track.
date.
No, a Formula One car or like a go-kart track, and we're just going with it, just going
Okay.
around and going with it. So you're good. One thing that I love like what you're doing because it sounds like unbecoming in therapy. Like it just really like I love it. Oh my gosh. But in part because what like in having the conversation around being who God's called us to be, um it unearths the reality that God actually has a heart for humanity in general, right? And then a heart for each one of us specifically. Like what you were talking about, like now, okay, now I see that you've been here
Mm-hmm.
the whole time, right? And I that's such a testament to Dad's character, right? That he is like, regardless of how we feel about him, he is madly in love with us.
Right.
And like he's going to consistently, like in some way, shape, form, or fashion, every day, show how much he loves us, how madly in love he is with us. And it's in that pursuit that we start to get like what I call breadcrumbs, right?
Right.
Because like for example, um your photography, right?
Yeah.
And how you capture God's creations in your photography.
Ain't nothing like it.
I listen, I've seen the pictures as proof. So there's that. right? And I okay, sidebar. Okay, ugh, it's like the Boston Marathon up here. Okay. So and if you're hearing God's creations and thinking like, oh, like the trees or animals or whatever, yes, she does that too. Amen. And God's creations as far as humans too, right?
Right.
What I'm trying to get to is I know that I'm sure that at some point before you made it official with your photography, that you at some point found a love or developed or it just uploaded to you a love for creation, a love for photography, a love for people.
Yeah.
Especially being a therapist, right? You got to have a love for people for real. And so like I recognize that in that rediscovery process, in his pursuit of showing us his love for us, he has these breadcrumbs that
Right.
in hindsight, which as they say is always 2020, we're like, oh, yeah, like this is not, there have been times where God had said something to me and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, wow. He's like, this is not new. Let me remind you. It's kind of like, 10 years ago, or when you were 7, or the other day, like whatever it was, like this is not new. Like,
Hello.
it's right. So it's so, what I'm trying to articulate is like when we step into the yes to enter into this lifestyle of process that is unbecoming, it's literally a rediscovery, and it's so much, or it can be so much fun. It's such an adventure. We as humans are such an adventure,
Right.
right? And just hearing you talk about like how you are helping people to launch into this adventure, even if it's just like little pieces, or through a photo that you take of them, right?
It's my new project.
Yes, I love it.
My new project called The Skin I'm In.
Yes.
Photographing people who society deems less than worthy because of some imperfection somewhere, right? They don't fit the Barbie model or, Ken or whomever,
Yeah.
but photographing people as they are, as he created them to be,
Yes.
and showing them those photographs. I had a young lady with alopecia, absolutely gorgeous.
Yes.
She get bullied in school because she didn't have hair, right? So she wears wigs. I'm encouraging her while she's at home and we're in session. She doesn't have to wear the wig
Yes.
because she's beautiful just as she is. And when she saw her photo shoot, oh my God, the
Yes.
joy on her face.
Yes.
And she can now knows if somebody asks her, why don't you have hair? She can reply, because God created me this way. He doesn't have to go into, well, I have an autoimmune disorder that doesn't allow my body to grow hair. Who understands that?
Right.
Simply put, God created me this way. What's more beautiful than somebody to be able to recognize that? Or another one who's developmentally delayed, 45 years old, got the mind of a 10, 12-year-old on a good day, right?
Wow.
Can process, can repeat and mimic society very, very well. But because she looks different, and you can tell looking at her, she's probably delayed. When she saw her photo shoot, what did you think? I thought, wow, this really happened. I really am beautiful. So
Yeah.
what would you say to those people who bullied you? I would show them the pictures so they can see that they lied.
Yes.
Really? Does God make mistakes? No. So she said, I'm not a mistake. I am unique. I'm one of a kind.
Yes, I love it. I
Yeah,
love it. That's so
it's
good.
awesome. And when I catch a butterfly, I get the same feeling,
Mm-hmm.
especially when I get it up close. And then, I pull it up on the computer.
Yes.
Think about how a butterfly unbecomes.
Yeah.
Coming up out of that chrysalis,
Yes.
taking off, spreading the wings.
Yes.
Like how fascinating and how amazing. He's such a an artist.
Ah,
He's
yes.
such an artist.
Yes.
And
Yes.
photographing things that he creates in a millisecond of time, frozen forever. For me, absolute proof he exists. Because
Yes.
who else could do that? I can't do it.
Mess around and start shouting over here.
Woo woo! Right? So
Yes.
who else can do it? And if we can look at the world with that kind of awe and wonder,
Yes.
that kind of curiosity that we
Yes.
used to have as kids, how does that work? Why?
Yeah.
Don't ask me why again.
Ah,
Right?
yes.
But if we ask why and how, and we have that kind of childlike wonderment, I'll
Yeah.
never grow up, honey.
Good.
I will
Because
never
you
grow
would
up.
be
You hear me?
fun if you grew up.
But if I can look at his creations that way, be it human, animal, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and I can capture them in a millisecond of time,
Yes.
and other people can see who normally may not see it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or experience it. Because let's face it, we don't go through this world with our eyes open and heads up, do we?
Not for the most, especially in a state of becoming. No,
For the most part, where are we?
all fake. Yeah. Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Or off in our own mind,
Mm-hmm.
not paying attention.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
take ourselves down that rabbit hole. Well, I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. God doesn't love me. How could he love me?
Right. Eeyore. Yeah.
Right? Woe is me.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. I call it Eeyore. Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 That and you know, you asked about advice that I would give to someone, and so now that we've kind of cleared the air around there is no becoming who God called you to be, I would say like just be brave to enter into that conversation. Of course, I can help with that, but just off the cuff, just I would triple dog dare somebody to to ask the question, like, right, whatever you're doing in your life right now, just ask that. He's your father. He'll answer. He's a good father. He always answers. Just ask, am I doing what it is you have in your heart for me to do?
Mm,
That's a great start.
right?
That's a great starting question, because that's a yes or no question. You'll hear the yes or the no, period. Right?
More than that, you'll feel it. Your
Yes.
spirit will feel it.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. You know what I mean? So it's because, like, I was supposed to be an attorney. I was supposed, and listen, I would have been a good one.
Girl, you too much of a clown to be an attorney.
And
But
see,
your honor, see what happened was.
well, see, okay, so I didn't want to practice trial law. I wanted to do corporate law. But again, corporate, right? You wouldn't peg me as the corporate, the suit with the no, but I was willing to become that in order to pursue what I thought it was I was supposed to do.
Right.
Right? I this is what people expected of me. I was supposed to go to law school. I was supposed to become this high power attorney, traveling back and forth all over the place, mergers and acquisitions, doing all the things in some big city somewhere, period.
Well,
And
thank God you didn't.
I know. Right, that's what I'm saying. So So for some people, they may think that, oh, because I'm a success at something, this must be God.
Right.
No, just because we are a success at something doesn't mean that it's God. I said this before on a different episode in other places, but I'll say it again. If I hit my head on a wall enough times, I will put a hole in it.
The head or the wall.
Both, probably. Yes, both, right? However, am I supposed to use my head to put a hole in the wall? If a hole gets in the wall, I'm successful. Yeah. But is that what my head was designed to do? Is that what my head was designed to experience? No. Right. So just because something is good doesn't make it God.
Right.
It just means that it just affirms that if we do something enough times, it will work. That's it, but it does not make it God. So, yeah, so I would say ask that question. Am I doing in my life what's on your heart for me to be doing? Right? Because again, just because you're a success, you got all the awards, you got all the accolades, doesn't mean that that's what God wanted you to do. Now, if you get a yes, then amen. There are some follow-up questions. Am I doing this thing in the way that you have designed me to do it? Because you could be in an industry. This is
Right.
my life, right? I'm called to be an entrepreneur, absolutely. And yet, inside of that reality, I was still doing business in a way that was not like God.
Right.
So, yes, for the industry, no for the method. Right. So that could be it too. Right. So you can ask that follow-up question. Well, am I doing this thing in the way that you designed me to do it, in the way that your heart has or wants to express itself? Right. Because as believers, we get to partner with heaven to release heaven into every sphere of influence that we are a part of. Well, is this the way that you want me to express this? Right? All the things. So, yes, the short answer to, to your question, Sandy, is yes. Everyone is capable of engaging this lifestyle of process that is unbecoming. Absolutely. Yes, everyone is capable of rediscovering who God's called them to be. Yes, yes, and yes. Absolutely.
Woohoo!
Everybody engage with it? No. Because masks are comfortable sometimes. I remember one year, my younger son Michael asked for an Iron Man costume for Christmas. No, it was just a mask. All the bells and whistles, it made noise and all the things. And that child wore that mask. I know about 3 weeks straight after he got it. I would go in there while he was asleep and take it off. I'm like, surely you can't breathe. Like, I don't, I don't need nothing to happen to you. Why this? No. Why? He enjoyed the mask. It was fun. It wasn't uncomfortable at all. Right? So sometimes we're like, shoot, I don't know. I don't want to talk about unbecoming because I like this money I make. I like this office I have. I like these folks who I get to hang around. I like this car, all the things. Right? This mask is comfortable and it's not God's heart. So, like, you got to pick,
And
got to choose.
and therein lies something else. People think and can convince themselves that that mask is comfortable.
Yes. Oh, that's
But
so
inside, in the soul, they are as unhappy and unfulfilled as anybody could possibly be.
yes.
Because money and things cannot replace God's love, his blessings, his abundance. Can't replace it. You
Absolutely.
can't fill those holes with anything.
Bubblegum don't work.
Nope.
Mm-mm.
Ask me how I know. Sorry, I didn't realize you was drinking right then.
It's okay. It's fine. It's fine. It's
No
fine.
choking allowed. I can't do the Heimlich from here.
Right. No, listen, yeah, that's good, Sandy. That's a whole word.
Right?
Yeah, that's a whole word. Yeah, it's it- there. I feel like, anybody who is listening or watching right now, and what Sandy just described, um, is like your story. It's like where you are right
Yeah.
now. Like, you know, be, dad will never like leave us hanging. And so that little that you that hits you every now and then, even though you've convinced yourself this is comfortable, I can sleep in this mask. It has all the bells and whistles, it makes all the noise. I sound just like Iron Man when I put it on. Yes, right. Even though you've convinced yourself that I'm okay, there's still, I know,
There's
because
still a doubt.
good that there's still that doubt, that I don't know, that you've been beaten back. Listen,
Can
I
I
want
tell
to
you when I lost that doubt?
go encourage the people, Sandy, go for it.
Okay. Last Jan- uh, in January,
Hmm.
when was it? I I was invited by Dr. Tony to go to her retreat in Mexico to
Yes.
photograph the retreat. Right?
Oh
Yeah, girl. So
goodness,
next time you want a retreat photograph, let me know.
I got you. Yes.
Anyway, I got up every day, walked down the stairs and out the back door, straight down to the ocean. And I walked the beach every morning with my camera in my hand. And for me to be able to be in another country, which I didn't think would ever be possible, right? To be asked by somebody to photograph the retreat and the couples in the retreat,
Hmm.
right? As part of their retreat.
Yes.
It was a marriage retreat.
Yeah.
And to experience people on that level
Mhm.
was a whole new ball game for me.
Wow.
It was somewhat uncomfortable because I'm not always comfortable around people,
Hmm.
right? It's that less than feeling,
Got you. Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
That's that lie, that nagging lie,
Absolutely.
right?
Yep. Yep.
And that's when I had to remind myself, as I'm sitting on the pier one morning and watching a crab in the water, right? Just like, whoa, right? And then a few minutes later, a blue heron landed right next to me in the water and just was walking around. And I'm like this close to it, right? Taking pictures like, I
Wow.
got you, baby. All right, thanks, God. Because every time I go out, I always ask God, what do you want me to see today?
Yeah.
Right? And so when I capture the hummingbirds and the butterflies, but being in Mexico and sitting there and watching that crab in the water and all this natural wildlife,
Yes.
that's not really wild, right? People think wildlife, oh, buffaloes and stuff. Not necessarily.
Mhm.
Not necessarily, right? But to be there and to be a part of that experience was life changing for me in my soul.
Yes.
And I knew by the time I left there, I got to be there 5 days, 6 days. It was awesome. It was just awesome.
Yes.
And I was going through a rough time before I left
Mhm.
and went on that trip.
Mhm.
And when I was ready to come back, I started crying because I didn't want to come back, because I realized a truth that I hadn't fully known until then,
Mm-hmm.
that I'm worthy of so much more,
Yes.
so much better. Just anything he has to offer, I am worthy of, and I deserve it just like everybody
Come
else.
on.
Yeah, girl.
Come on.
So I became on that beach.
You unlocked another layer of being.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes. Oh,
And I
that's
want to do it again and again and again and again.
yes. Oh my gosh, my heart about to just
I'm about to cry. We need to end this. No. I don't cry. There's no crying in podcasts.
listen. Listen. We on the same because that is so beautiful. That because what you're describing is conversations that took you to a whole other country, to a beautiful setting, doing what you love and what he has given you, who he's called you to be, to have this beautiful conversation. That is the pursuit of love all day. To have this beautiful conversation with you about or saying essentially, you're so worthy that I'm going to cause nature to say or to confirm what I've been sharing with you.
Yeah.
I'm going to cause nature to be drawn to you, to confirm my heart for you, and to say, yes, this is exactly where you're supposed to be. I could run around. Listen, the pursuit of his pursuit of us is so beautiful. When
Yes.
we allow him, because you could have told Doc no. You could have said no, I'm not qualified, I'm not worthy, what any number of things. You could have said
And
and
what's
he
funny,
had a mask on. Go ahead.
I had told Tony, suggested to her, you need to take me along on your retreat so I can photograph them for you. Right? So, and I don't, honestly, I don't know why I said that.
The setup. It was a setup.
Okay.
Yes. Dad was setting you up.
He did. And
Yes.
so I mentioned it again another time. And then a while later, here she's asking me to go. Yes. How could I say no? You don't say to no to Dr. Tony. What's wrong with you, Ebony?
I don't know what came over me. I don't
Saying
understand.
no to Dr. Tony's like saying no to God. She's right up there with him, you know.
Right. I just
Oh, Lord.
it's oh my goodness. I love that so much. Oh, thank you for being here with me today, Sandy. With
Thank
us
you for having me
today,
here.
Sandy. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so
I
much.
think I found a new way to make a living. I like this podcast stuff.
Hey, go for it. I love it. Okay, so Sandy, I'm going to so listen, you guys. Sandy is gifted. She is a gifted photographer. She photographs through like God's eyes, essentially. Like she is gifted to that millisecond is what you said. I think that millisecond of time. Like she is gifted at freezing that and capturing God's creations through photography. And she mentioned earlier that she is also a licensed clinical social worker, and she combines those two, her photographer and her social work, with mental health clients to give a this is hitting me now, to help to create a record of unbecoming for people. I can't fool with you. Tell the folks how to find you, baby. Because I cannot. I can't do this with you no more. I can't.
Through his lens.pixieset.com. You can look me up on Facebook under Sandy Oliver. I also have a Facebook page called Through His Lens. Private message me if you want photos done. If you need my services for anything, let me know.
Because it's when I say that she is good at what she does, that's the understatement of the day. I mean, this is gonna sound terrible, but it's the truth right now. At least I don't like outside. That's the first thing. I don't like outside, and I'm fine looking out through a window. I'm fine. So I don't really have an appreciation.
You sure don't. I tried to convince you. I tried to convince you to photograph those birds outside your
house. However, here's the thing though. When I look at Sandy's pictures, there some corner layer or valve of my heart opens up, or I don't know. But I discovered this appreciation, but it's only through her camera. Like I can legit look at I'm like, okay, it's a bird, amen. But I can look. I'm so for real. I can look at Sandy's pictures, and it's just of humans and nature. I saw a picture. I think it was of a mountain or something that you took, and I was like almost teary-eyed behind the mountain. I don't give a flying fig about mountains. And yet I'm looking at this picture and I'm like, Sandy is the bomb. Like, it's just, what? So listen.
That's why it's through his lens.
Absolutely. And truer words have not been spoken, especially for somebody like me who does not like outside. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Sandy, for being here. I love you so much. I appreciate you for joining us. Thank you guys for being here. Check Sandy out. Go DM her. Go check out through his lens.pixieset.com. The link is in the show notes. And I will see you for the next episode of Unbecoming with yours truly, the podcast. See you later.
Thank you.